think we're back. Weekly roundup on the ape enclosure. Gents, how are you? Dan said he's going to lag because there's a fitness class going on next door. So
so my webcam might lag because the old Deer's on a webcam doing her fitness classes, doing the old like pumping the biceps and doing these kind of things and all this kind of shit.
I love the intro. I think we're back. It's not like we're back or hi. It's like we're back. Is this really happening? So we've decided to do Thursday recordings because we wanted to present stuff on a Friday and kind of like do a wrap up. So we're actually recording on a Thursday. I'm not sure whether you guys are going to watch this on Friday or Saturday. I mean, we are confused most of the time, so let's see whether it plays out. Let's just get into what we're doing today. It's nice to be here, by the way.
Yeah, so we've got covering some of the content that we've pushed out this week because there's a lot of good stuff in there. Celebrating the newsletter. We'll get into that in a minute. There's some Bitcoin DeFi stuff that's been popping up that we've been keeping a close eye on. I think it's just going through its kind of intro pump, if that makes sense. Going to cover some charts because looks a little bit shitty out there at the minute, and then some upcoming kind of releases and a couple of test nets that should be, touch wood, and incentivized. So we'll get into that now. But yeah, first and foremost, I'll bring the newsletter up. Dan, what was covered this week and what's going to be covered in the next edition?
So earlier in the week, we covered Geth and how traders were speculating on Goreli testnet Ethereum because the price literally did like 140x in the space of 72 hours. It was absolutely mental. And this was all because the guys over at Layer Zero decided to make a bridge. But what's super interesting is now that we've got obviously like the Shanghai upgrade coming up within a matter of days or probably weeks. I think this is going to highlight the LSD narrative again. But what's super interesting is you can use Geth. They're going to be using Goreli Ethereum over on Coinbase's testnet as well. So I actually tried it. It actually works. It is legit. It wasn't LARP. And yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how Coinbase may lead the Ethereum bull run this month.
Nice. So is that, I suppose, it's a pain in the ass for developers that are wanting to deploy contracts and test shit out?
Mate, developers are pissed. But there was a load of developers that dumped their bags and they literally like made anywhere between like 50 and 70K in the space of a few minutes. But what people have got to understand is like they're creating a new test net which fixes a lot of the problems with Goreli, which will be coming out later in this year. So if you are aping into Goreli thinking it's going to do a KSM, run up to $700, you are sadly mistaken, man. And yeah, you can buy like testnet Bored Apes and stuff like that, which is kind of cool.
So they're creating. So essentially, what you're saying is that inadvertently a market has been created on testnet of all places.
Basically, everybody's getting desperate for a new narrative. So they took a shitty, worthless testnet coin, and you enjoying this post? Please subscribe. So they took this like worthless coin and then absolutely full sent it. But then obviously people got absolutely wrecked on it. And then let's be honest, if you're a developer, right, and you're earning peanuts and you can like make 50K in like the space of like 2 days, duh.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I'm still in disbelief that this happened because when I received the newsletter, I was like, this can't be true. And obviously I went and did a peruse and I was like, this is true. Dan isn't fibbing to us. It's actually happening. It's insane. Actually, it's insane. I mean, that's the only way that I can articulate what's going on there. Completely.
Yeah, we've got a couple of like maxis in the chat in Discord as well, who have been like absolutely aping left, right, and center, especially on the NFT side of it. It's just mental, absolutely mad, hilarious.
Just when I think this space can't get any more backwards, it always outdoes itself.
Always.
Bitcoin maxis are seething, but we're going to see laser eyes soon because now Bitcoin as an actual blockchain has real value. It's not a store of It's not a store of like value, and it's not fucking like it's not like gold or an inflation hedge. It's actual tech that you can actually really genuinely use now because somebody has now gone and given it a use case.
So I mean, Grant, when we the last week we spoke about the possibility that Bitcoin can become a layer 2, and that development will land up being directed towards a layer 2 Bitcoin. Hey, Grant, I mean, I think you were quite bullish on that idea.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to people from the Stacks team maybe a year ago, and
remember that.
You know, at the time it was back end of 2021. So like there was enough going on in like across multiple trains at that time to kind of poo-poo the idea, but you know, particularly after what we've seen with ordinals and the Bitcoin NFTs and the kind of development landscape start to kick off, there's been a couple of announcements like this week that have been quite interesting, and these things don't come uncoordinated, if you know what I mean. So like let me see if I've got the tweet from Badger DAO, like DeFi focused on earning yield on Bitcoin multiple different ways, lots of complex strategies, lots of lending and borrowing and things like that. So they're actually developing this eBTC, the new protocol for badgers that have been grinding hard and building. So Spadaboom from Badger has said aspirations to be most decentralized Bitcoin in DeFi, most capital efficient way to borrow Bitcoin with no fees, and self-sustaining utility fueled by ETH staking. So ticking lots of boxes, feeding into lots of narratives. And what I think is really important is because of the merge and because of Shanghai, a lot of tech is sat on the sidelines waiting to kind of get deployed and actually have the infrastructure there to allow it to happen. So very interesting. Hasn't just been Badger that's kind of had a run up. We'll get into some charts and things later, but there's definitely something brewing in the whole Bitcoin DeFi landscape. Will it cause a bit of controversy? Probably. Will the Bitcoin maxis be a bit seething because it's supposed to be, well, the narrative flips from hard money to store of value to permissionless kind of peer-to-peer cash every cycle effectively. So I don't know. I think it's long overdue, but I think they're a little bit behind. But people will just jump wherever liquidity is flowing effectively.
I mean, Bitcoin's ultimate value proposition is that it's probably one of, if not the safest network and the biggest network on the planet. So imagine the interesting stuff that could come out of a layer 0. I mean, it's mind-boggling, really. I mean, imagine like an Arbitrum on Bitcoin. It would be insane. Bring it. I say bring it on. I think it would be really cool to see yet another ecosystem that can produce. Imagine the smell of the Bitcoin maxis. Oh my God, it's just that alone is going to be amazing to see. Can't wait.
Because you're gonna see people's bias get very much divided, because the problem is when you're so kind of hell-bent on a specific idea or ideology, as soon as new information comes out and you don't pivot on your opinion, you're a bit of an idiot. But then if you do pivot, then everything that you said before that makes you look a little bit stupid in and of itself. I always think you should be kind of, strong opinions held loosely and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as new data presents itself, then you can obviously formulate your opinion. But the problem is with the kind of the Bitcoin community is they're so dogmatic about their idea of what Bitcoin should be. It's just have fun staying poor effectively. Like go with the new technology, go with the new innovation, try shit out, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
But do these people not want their precious blockchain and tech to actually get used and have like some form of adoption? That's what I don't understand.
Well, the argument would be, Dan, that it already does fulfill a function, is that it's hard money, it's peer-to-peer functionality is unrivaled, it is the safest and the most resilient network on the planet. What else do you want? We've got what we want. They don't want the extra add-ons and shitcoinery and all that kind of stuff. So totally get it. I totally understand where they're coming from. At the same time, there's this thing called a frickin' train, and it's moving at terminal velocity, and it's called technology innovation, and you ain't going to stop it, ladies and gentlemen.
Mate, until there is a micro cap scene on it, it's not a real blockchain.
It's coming. I bet you there's somebody putting something together as we speak. Absolutely. And it's probably going to be called Bitcoin Maxi Cetheron or something like that. I mean, that's what I would call it. Imagine how popular it would be.
There is something getting built over there, and we'll get onto it in a second. But just a bit of self promotion. The newsletter, if anyone hasn't subscribed, it's in the link below. And we've seen a huge uptick the last month. Don't know how we've done it. Don't know why we've done it. Probably because it's extremely consistent, concise, and delivers you all the information you need to know about the space in your inbox twice a week. It takes less than 5 minutes to read. Dan's been absolutely killing it. So there's over 4,000. What is it, Dan? 4,100, up like 30% on the month. I wish it was. You could invest in the growth of it, because it'd be a good little shitcoin to put some funds in, because I can imagine we'll be at 100,000, if not more, in the next 12 to 18 months. So yeah, that's in the description. If you want to go and see what all the fuss is about and why everyone's kind of subscribing, then it's completely free. Got nothing to sell you, unlike some others on the market. But yeah, it'll stay free forever.
But hang on a second. But wait, aren't we selling them discounts on their next barbershop visit?
Oh mate, I can get you a proper good barber where I am. Literally, like, the guy doesn't talk to you, like, not a word. You sit down in the chair and he doesn't fart ass about. He gets his clippers out, right? He goes snip, 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 and it's done. You get like the freshest fade like ever. It's ridiculous. And
so can we get discounts through the newsletter? Maybe even sell. But you know what, for the guys, but you know what we need to do for the newsletter? Hold on a second. I've got a brilliant idea. We need to maybe get some food coupons for the guys that have had to go and get jobs at McDonald's and shit. Maybe that would go down. Get some more subscribers. Maybe we should put that in the plan. I think we've
got a few McDonald's workers in our Discord. We can sort something out.
Hey, bro, I applied for a job. The guys didn't want to take me on.
Bro,
they said I was underqualified.
Bro, so when I was living in Alice Springs, right? Literally like the very central point of Australia, yeah. I did a 5-hour shift. Sorry, it was on my time sheet. 4 hours and 57-minute shift at McDonald's working on the coffee. And the only reason I decided to quit was because they didn't want me in the back flipping burgers with the boys, because we'd have just caused too much chaos. And the reason I applied for a job, that I had such FOMO, because where I was living, like literally everybody worked at McDonald's. They come back stinking of grease and everything. I'm like, oh, come on, boys. Like, I can't flip burgers with you.
I worked there when I was like 16, 17. And as bad as it was, it made me realize that I really need to stick in and make something of myself. So it was a harsh lesson, but it was a good lesson to kind of give you a kick up the arse and get your shit together. So,
that's why we're here.
Won't be going back there anytime soon. So yeah, speaking of shitcoins on Bitcoin, Dan, what's this we're looking at?
Yeah, so like we dropped a hints about like stacks a while ago, and it's obviously done like super good. And somebody's like created this, which is the stacks ecosystem. So you can see like what's actually being built over there on the layer 2. Could this, like, let's just have like wild speculation. Could this be the Arbitrum of Bitcoin? Maybe, who knows? But like this gives you a bunch of different coins, and projects they're actually building over there. And yeah, I almost feel like Satoshi is going to be English, or like from a like British heritage or whatever, because when we're down at the bottom, I think this will be like the first shitcoin that just came across the desk this morning, but Welsh Corgi coin, a Welsh Corgi coin. And you know what? This is in such development and beta stages of testing that the chart don't even load. Look at that. That's how early we are to Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. That's how early Bitcoin.
Yeah. So we'll try and get a quick TLDR on some of these projects and what they're all about. Don't know if you want to drop that at the bottom of the next newsletter or something, Dan. But if you want to find out what all these projects are and what they're doing, where the shitcoins are, where the ones have got real utility, and all that kind of shit, we can do just a brief TLDR. So if you want to learn that, as I said, newsletter below. Quite interesting. We should probably cover next week how to kind of onboard as well, just as a little bit of tutorial in the middle of the next stream. But I'll sort that out this week and make sure we can do a little brief tutorial for next week's episode. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, where's the chart? Stacks has just been made it open to the watch list. So I'll bring it up when it loads. Like, yeah. So from the 20th of Feb to now, it seemed like, ooh, what's that increase? That little bottom tick there to 198%. I suppose, like, wick to wick. I don't know why it's not bringing up, but yeah, around 3x. So yeah, so it's a big old move. Yeah, I think it needs to chill out a little bit. Like, those EMAs are just kind of probably not going to touch for a very, very long time. But yeah, it's impressive to kind of see it. Absolutely no volume come in, one huge 4-hour candle there, and then just continued upwards from then. But if you needed to operate on the network, there's one thing with chains that have a token that is required for gas, and ones that effectively are just a representation, like Optimism of OP, of like Optimism, things like that. When you get real network effects and people using the chain, obviously demand for that specific token comes through, and you can kind of resonate and see that in the charts. So if it is actually required, then obviously big plus. If it's pure speculation and doesn't necessarily do anything, I don't know just yet. I need to kind of do a little bit more due diligence around it. But yeah, seems to be moving in the right direction anyway.
I mean, Stacks.
Any thoughts? Did you get any? Did you buy any or
no?
Nope.
I've been in the salt mines. Just been too busy working to actually pay much attention to what's going on in kind of like focus in on charts and stuff. It's been quite busy for us, obviously, at Blockmates. So, and then people are like kind of like constantly whipping me into like working. So no, I haven't.
And what I really like to do,
yeah,
I like to gift the alpha to people so other people make money.
You keep on doing that. You're so good at that, dude. Like, you have done it at least 20 times in the last 2 months, at least.
Mate, I'd be out of the basement and on floor 1 by now.
I reckon you would have had close to the penthouse by now.
Oh, don't push it.
I would say so.
Yeah, you do have a habit of doing that, don't you? Telling everyone else about it and not executing it yourself.
that is why today, after this stream, after the newsletter's done, like having a full reset so I don't keep fading myself, because it's pissing me off now.
You know what we need to do, Dan? I think what would be really like a really positive thing, and also, well, for everyone who's wondering about what it is that we do, and obviously it'll be painful for you, which will also be fun to see, is to actually do a list of all the things that you've...
Yes.
Do a list of, like, I made like Grail, called Grail in November, beginning of November, Grail, Camelot.
Bruh, I put that in the newsletter long before it even came across your desk. What are you chatting about?
Totally, that's what I'm saying. Man. Yeah, man. So I think we should make a list and then do a newsletter on all the stuff Dan called way before, and that's what people who are paying attention. Yeah,
bro, that's what the intern's doing, bro. I was like, bro, make a spreadsheet, put all the shit that I've put in it, put in the newsletter, put it in it.
Yeah, totally. I think that'd be really cool, and then we can laugh at you even more.
Fucking bollocks.
But on that, Dan, what have you been seeing coming through being an on-chain sleuth, has there been any kind of, I don't know if you've got anything to bring up, but is there any strange or interesting movements been happening?
Dan got a new toy.
Yeah, so
like,
I got Nansen, and I was supposed to have like a really sociable weekend this weekend, go and touch grass, maybe go on a date, maybe even spend some time with a female. Oof. But I've spent so much time digging deep into Nansen that I've like blocked everything out of the way, because when you go into Nansen, man, it's like a wormhole, and like this wormhole is worse than like Zerion and like Etherscan or whatever, because you've got like there's like token paradises, there's there's like token god mode, you can look at exchange flows, and like if you want to speculate or just have a look, if you hear word on the street that a coin is potentially getting listed somewhere, you can see if there's like exchange flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up alpha window.
So when did we get the sub? It's quite recent, right?
Yeah. So this is Nansen, and this is like literally like Nansen today. So we're in token paradise, which is where you can just see what's going on. What's super cool is they give you like an overview of what's going on. So like DEX volume, fresh wallet inflow, net holdings, 24, 7 and 30 day. But if you want to like actually discover some stuff, you can have a look on here in the discovery tab. So we obviously know that XMOM, they were having like a big unlock here. So we can see here, and this is all to do with like the smart money. So the change in like info or whatever is like shown here. So we can filter which has had the biggest change, and then we can also look here. Okay, so now we're looking at, by the way, I don't own any of these that we're talking about. This is just like messing around on Nansen live. So here we can see that over the last 24 hours, whatever IQ is, has done like a massive surge. And then even over the last hour, kind of a big surge here as well. But it's really, really interesting. And like I was having a look at like Matic the other day. And for some reason, like Alameda Research has been like absolutely buying bags and bags and bags of it. So I'm not too sure what they're doing at the moment. But if you can like do Nansen for a month, it's super cool. Even on this homepage, we can like start to look at smart money token holdings over the last 24 hours. The inflow, so obviously like Euro C, not sure what that is, but that's something to consider. And then we've got here smart token outflow, so you can see what quote unquote smart money is obviously doing. So they've obviously been like dumping Blur quite heavily. There's a little bit on that. They're obviously wrong if they're doing this one. Got Prime, Imagine AI, and everything. What's really interesting is it's not just like the big macro cap coins like Matic and stuff that this picks up. It does pick up like the shit coins and that kind of like scene. So things like Tsuka, Imagine AI is very hot on like the Telegram scene. I'm not sure what Pepe's are, but that would be something to look into. It's super interesting. And what we're going to do is like some of the further down the line is we've added like some bots into our Discord for wallet tracking, which is coming from here as well. So we'll be able to show you guys real smart money and what it's doing.
And DJ money, of course.
And yeah, DJ money.
Great, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You see XMON. Bring up the XMON chart. If you weren't scared before, then prepare to be very scared now. That's all I have to say. So this has just come out. I think it came out a couple of hours ago. There was an unlock.
Can I show you XMOM on Nansen?
Yeah, sure.
Hilarious. Window Bosch. Okay, so we're in token god mode now on Nansen, and this is just the transactions page. So on this shows you token price and volume. Obviously, like huge volume go up. I think this is like before or something to do with when pseudo. But look at that dumper lumper right there, massive. And let's have a look at smart money. What's smart money been doing? What have they been doing?
Does it say who was that? Who offloaded it?
In the last 24 hours, a smart DEX trader offloaded like basically 17K, not a lot. But what's interesting is this chart here. So token held by smart money with the number of wallets. So blue line is total smart money balance, and then the number of smart money wallets. So it looks like here somebody is buying. So it'll be very interesting to see later when we dig into it who's actually been buying and selling. But over the last 24 hours, Sigil Fund has bought almost 200K. Oh, BMW, Max, get out of here, mate. Shit car. Bought almost 100K.
Your next career move could be the one you never imagined. Web3 nomads. Everywhere jobs for anywhere people.
Yeah, really interesting.
So there's things like this. It was one of those where we picked it up extremely early, like towards the end of last year, and did a decent multiple on it and did okay off the back of it. Probably could have executed a little bit better, but it's kind of like when the alpha had already been out there and the edge had kind of gone, and particularly with the depth of liquidity that was on there and the kind of people that were buying it, you're always know you're going to just get fucked over. So as I say, it's quite a frustrating one to play, and I think it's the more you go into the trenches with specific projects and you just kind of have a look at the specific type of wallets that are holding certain types of coins, you can always assume that there's going to be like a big fat red candle that comes your way, probably in the middle of the night when you can't do fucking anything about it. But there's a few projects like that where I'm just completely staying away from now, regardless if it's good. If there's specific types of wallets that I've got noted down that are in it, I'm just not touching it.
I think it's just in terms of where the market is right now. I mean, Kobe obviously made a comment about February and said don't trade in February. And then just before the end of February, he said the same about March. And I mean, I saw that Cantrin Clark as well. He said, listen, I'm not interested in the crypto markets. I think he posted that about 6 hours ago. I'm just going to focus on traditional markets. And until things change, I'm staying away. And I think that, when you've got individuals like that telling you to stay away, unless you really have good insight into what's going on, or unless you're gambling in the casino, it really isn't the kind of time and space to get involved in the chop. I think the chop is going to land up chopping people. That's why it's called chop. It's not just because it's moving up and down erratically. It's because people get taken out. I would prefer to just work and not really get involved. That's kind of like my 99% play going forward. I just don't really see any benefit. I have zero edge, so I'm going to stay out.
Wait, like we brought this up last week. Like it's wait for like TradFi to give you the signal, because everything's still like quite overextended when you look at like momentum indicators and such. Like the time now isn't to ape. The time to ape was when you were looking at like the RSI and like Bitcoin or the SPX or something where it's like really dead and bottomed. That would have been the time to start. And when you start seeing the volume coming in, that's when you can like catch that ride up. So just like be cautious now is what I would say.
I think what's happened, what Grant is saying early on, is that January going into February and even part of February was like really good. It was actually quite easy to make the money. Like exactly what you described is, okay, well, you don't try and catch the bottom because that's just kind of like a fool's errand. But what you're doing is that you're catching that uptrend. So even if it's 25, 30% in, you catch it, you ride it, you do maybe like 2 or 3x, 4x. I think that was kind of like the norm, was like across the board. I think people were generally making around between 2 and 4x, maybe 5x. And then the secret, which we all land up like not realizing because we get so caught up in the whole thing, is that we don't actually like say, okay, cool, enough now. Like, let me sell. Let me actually take a step back. I don't need to go and try and chase the 6x. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember November 2021, we had a scenario where Messi was like, guys, you've made 100x, or you've made a 20x, or you've made a 15x. Why are you looking for another 2x when you've already made a 15, 20, 30x? Just freaking sell what it is. Sit back. If you miss another 2, 3x, who gives a shit? But if you get caught, then you land up giving it all back. And I think that's what's going on right now. I think what we're seeing now is people actually giving it back to the guys who know what they're doing and the real samurais in this market. And there's a very small group of them. They are operating on a whole different level.
If you look at like historical months, March is always a really like naff month. The average return on Bitcoin has like over the years averaged out at only 8%. So if you've had like a banging January, February, awesome. Take March off, touch grass, or use March as a time to, reflect, maybe like reposition stuff and look at the new theses that, may be coming. So if Bitcoin DeFi does have a run and it's being made like now, it's not going to be launched now. It will probably be launched April, May, June, which, according to like past data has been a slightly nicer couple of months.
Yeah, and there's like, as just expanding on that as well, there's a load of shit still to come onto the market, like a load of really great projects. There's a thread. I think it's pinned. If not, you should be able to find it on my Twitter if you just scroll down a little bit. There's 11 projects there that are unreleased that are potentially kind of going to shake the space up effectively. Just looking what's currently on the market and what's coming, it's a total different ballgame. Like, these kind of projects have looked at deficiencies in the market, innovated on top of them, made the other kind of things on the market look a little bit silly. Like see Tapioca's Infinity Pools, Gamma Swap, Eigenlayers, another more of an infrastructure product. I don't know if it's particularly apeable, if that's what you're kind of listening out for, but there's so many that are coming onto the market now. As Dan says, it's maybe take time, reassess, and see how you can kind of get involved. I mean, I put it all in there, like what you can kind of do to maximize your chances of getting exposure early and how to best go about doing that. So if you want to take a look, I'll drop it in the description because I know everyone's lazy as fuck, so I just want it spoon fed to them. So, but
I mean, I think we've got such a huge spread of like you said, like a huge spread of really interesting articles that are coming up. We've been working with a few, some amazing projects, like really cool stuff. I mean, we released the Hermes Maya DAO version 2 stuff this week.
That's huge.
That's huge. I don't think people
realize that one. Everyone's jumping on the back of the migration from Metas to Arbitrum, which is long overdue. But it's the V2 product that I'm more interested in. And obviously they need to get onto Arbitrum to allow that to happen. And so basically what they're going to do, and there's another project doing something similar, but a little bit different. So just as you have gauges on Curve where people get to lock their CRV and vote on where they want the next series of CRV emissions to go towards, and that just generated its own kind of ecosystem and flywheel. So you've got Convex built on top of that. They get the kind of the lion's say of where the next series of CRV emissions go, and that helps projects that are looking for liquidity and depth of liquidity, because if you can say, look, there's going to be 30% APR over the next, like not annualized, but 30% APR over the next 2 weeks of emissions directed towards your new project and your liquidity pool on Curve, that's super useful, because people get incentivized to deposit liquidity there because the returns are so great. So in the Convex and Curve ecosystem, you've got that whole thing playing out extremely well. Who knows how it's going to play out long term? It could be good, it could be bad. It's a little bit of a barrier to entry for new projects, particularly anyone who's running a stablecoin project, because they need to start effectively pay the cartel to direct emissions towards their pool. So Hermes V2 is building a layer on top of Uniswap. So you don't need to go around and try to enter the bribe game and the curve wars and all that kind of stuff to get depth liquidity. You can effectively use Hermes V2 to incentivize people to deposit liquidity into your pool over that specific time period. And projects can then bribe Hermes lockers to actually direct their next series of missions towards those specific pools. So it's really interesting because Uniswap are never going to do that. They don't have an incentives or rewards layer on top of the product. It is what it is. It's Uni V3 and that's take it or leave it. But 70% of all swaps go, even stable swaps is more leaning towards Uniswap at the minute. So that's really interesting. You're going to see like an additional layer built on top of Uniswap. I did mention this in the 2023 thesis around projects building on top of Uniswap because it's not going anywhere. It's a black hole of liquidity. And it's, as much as it's used for swaps, there's 1,000,001 other things that the liquidity could be used for. So Timeless, Fi, and Lit, which has been getting a lot of attention, doing something similar. But the key differences really are Hermes will be on Arbitrum initially. Timeless are looking to be on mainnet and a couple of other places. That'll slowly roll out. But with Timeless, you can deposit into the position and then kind of people will bribe Lit lockers and stakers. But with Hermes, they've got an additional product called Talos, which is effectively a Uni V3 liquidity management protocol, similar to like an Arrakis or what Popsicle tried to do. I'm sure we can go into that in a minute. But so on top of being able to bribe and incentivize people to deposit into your pool, you're also going to be able to just deposit directly through their other product, which is Talos, and it'll actually automatically manage it for you. So incentive layers on top of Uni V3, kind of genius. Kind of scratching my head why it hasn't been done before, because it seems like an obvious one. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Popsicle come out now that Danny said he's back and go and do something similar. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Hermes and Timeless probably gonna do well off the back of it, I think. But the Hermes article should be the first thing you see if you go on to blocmates.com and give it a read. And that's just one aspect of it, but that's like the most exciting bit about the upgrade for me.
So, I mean, that just obviously ties in really nicely with the fact that there really is some cool stuff happening, you know, in the dev space in terms of projects coming forward with great ideas. You know, we for the most part are covering a lot of that stuff. You know, obviously we can't get every single thing, but I do think that we're covering the main ones that are coming through, and we try and keep tabs on, you know, what is relevant in the space and the guys that are really trailblazing, you know, what's coming next, essentially. You know, we've spoken about this many times before. We do consistently find the gems before everybody else does, and then they use that information to kind of get their clout and to LARP on about it. But pay close attention to who is saying what and how they're saying it. So an interesting statistic for you guys, something that came to light yesterday, is that how much time do you think people spend on Cointelegraph when they go to the website? Take a guess.
Too much time.
No, seriously, how much time? Because I mean, they've got over, I think they get 7 to 8 million users there a month.
You'd assume it'd be like 5-10 minutes.
No, that's wrong. Do you want to take a guess, Dan? It's lower than 5.
Oh, damn. I was going to do like 6.5 minutes.
Okay, so the average time spent there is 1 minute and 46 seconds. On Blockmates, we have only 30,000 unique viewers a month, which is way less, right? But people spend an average of 8 minutes on our site. If you put all the numbers together, I think the guys at Cointelegraph have got around 20 million minutes a month that people are viewing the website, and we are, I think, sitting at around 12 or 13 million. with like a fraction of the number of people there.
So
we have an audience that engages with what it is that we put out there. That's what this means.
So let me get this straight. We have 30,000 people who are relevant, and just like us three idiots, spending at least 8 minutes reading the content that we put out there. That's 30,000. That is more than most like football stadiums near me. That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. You know, it's like we always like striving to get the numbers up, like we like wanting to get our newsletter up, and we're at 4,100. But I think we need to just sit back and appreciate that. Sure, it's not 200,000. We're not like Milk Road at 250,000, but we do have a really solid following, and people not only follow us for the sake of following us and delete our stuff in their inbox, actually read it, and more importantly, they read our articles, which is fucking great.
Yeah, I think we'll look back at this in a year's.
I think Grant's got the guys building his bar. By the way, just for the gossipers out there, Grant is building a bar. He's actually building a bar in his house. Mate, he said it was a tiki bar. He said it was a tiki bar as in tiki wood. I originally thought he said cheeky, like a cheeky bar, like his babe said, okay, you can have a bar, but it needs to be a cheeky one, like right in the corner or maybe in the basement.
Mate, are you going to get those proper like tiki glasses as well? Like those proper like big ones, of course with, like, tiki faces.
Yeah, we're having a barbecue on Saturday, and we've got my mate's got a pub out here, and his staff don't start till 7 o'clock. So we've managed to convince him to send one of his staff members round to make us cocktails all day. It's one of my mates' 30th. But yeah, it's called Tiki Boogie. Tiki Boogie.
Tiki Boogie.
That's hilarious.
That's epic. Well played. So just there's a couple of points that we kind of didn't get into before we close out, because I see we've still got some time. Something about Optimism looks like a Cosmos SDK. That was one of your notes that you made.
Yeah, is this noise coming through too much? Is it like
no? It's fine. Or... No, carry on.
Yeah. So I've been digging in a little bit more. The guys from the Bell Curve podcast, which is great, quite heavily in the Cosmos ecosystem, and their kind of analysis on it was similar to how Cosmos has got its SDK. It looks like Optimism's positioning itself to be this kind of roll-up super chain to allow like a framework and the OP stack for other would-be L2s to come in and build on top of it. So that makes a lot of sense. Base have used it. I think it's just great marketing from Optimism, and I think A16Z have had a very heavy hand in that whole process as well. But you could certainly see a lot of other chains, a lot of other L2s that want to use like the blueprint of the OP stack, and then just fine tune the parameters to whatever suits their specific needs. So you could even start seeing kind of app specific chains using Optimism. So like I don't know, let's say I know Vertex are on Arbitrum, but like if they start getting some extremely meaningful transactions and it starts to be a bit of a headache, they could use the Arbitrum stack, no problem. But what I'm thinking more and more of is the likes of Arbitrum and Optimism with their kind of blueprint to create another L2 and tap into this kind of super chain, app chain thesis narrative. If there are meaningful projects I can imagine Vertex is probably going to get there. It looks like it's going to be a DYDX on Arbitrum. So that's going to be really impressive. GMX could certainly just go and have its own L2 at the minute, the amount of users and kind of volume that they're getting through. And then they could actually use like the Arbitrum stack or the Optimism stack. And then it starts to look like the app chain thesis is playing out on Ethereum's. And then I was speaking to, who the fuck was I speaking to about this? But the whole L3 narrative or roll-ups as a service or like the whole roll apps kind of thing and like how they can kind of settle. So it's really interesting, really interesting time. I think Optimism have played up until now. They've been a bit shit, but they've played a little bit of a marketing blinder at the minute. But let's see like what the staying power is like. But what's really interesting is Metis is a fork of Optimism, but it looks like they've just forked it and fucked off and done their own thing. Whereas, and they also use their own native token to settle with gas. So one, you're probably pissing off the Ethereum community because you're not exactly scaling Ethereum by using your own token as gas. And two, probably looks like an unlicensed, not that you need to license it or anything, it's open source code, but it looks like if Optimism have got this infrastructure stack to allow people to kind of use it and spin up their own L2, and they haven't done that and they've just forked it and did their own thing. Maybe that's why they don't get brought into the conversation a lot. I wouldn't like to kind of speculate on that, but just from what I've seen over the past week, kind of putting two and two together kind of makes a little bit more sense.
But they've kind of like, from a Metis perspective, it's kind of like it's kind of like the rugby analogy is that they got the intercept ball and they were running down the middle of the field with nobody there, going straight for the middle of the poles to touchdown or to score the try, and then essentially stepping on loose shoelaces and falling flat on their face. Essentially what Metis has done, in that I don't believe they effectively spent their grants program in the way that they should have. I think they were fairly irresponsible around that, despite all the publicity and despite... I mean, I get why, because I think what happened when they launched was kind of like major shitcoin season. They made some bad decisions in terms of who they funded. But instead of continuing and saying, okay, cool, well, we made a mistake, kind of like retreated and held on to this grant money and didn't give the opportunity for the ecosystem to grow at probably the single most critical moment that it could have grown, and that was during a bear market. And I think that's where it started for me. That's my perspective on it. I think the fundamentals seem fine. You know, it's cheap, it's fast, it's got all these good things. I think policy around governance and the new changes, and I think that's also really cool. But delivery is what is all that matters, and they just haven't done that from a growth perspective.
Execution is all that matters in this space.
You know what? Someone in Discord actually said the problem with Metis isn't whether it's great tech. It's like you've got the problem is that you've got engineers trying to run a business. That's where the problem lies, and I'm inclined to believe them.
I mean, the amount of like just behind. Like, if people don't know, behind the scenes, like we do a lot of BD work with putting projects in touch with the right kind of people, and the amount of projects that we put in touch with those guys and even help them with the fucking application for the grants process and things, all really novel projects that would have been a deployment which was innovative on the change, you know what I mean? But they just, I don't know if they like the bear market scared them off or anything, but
I think that was it.
You can't just have kind of a copy and paste chain and expect people to come in. It just doesn't work. But, you know, I hope they get it right, because they seem like they've got a loyal community base and things like that. But
no, they're awesome, dude. I mean, they're awesome. Like Metis, awesome crew, awesome community. Everything is 100%. There's nothing wrong there. It's not like you don't have like a Cardano style thing here. You know, it's nothing like that. Dudes are solid. Like, there's some really cool stuff there. You know, I mean, some really good projects have come out there. I mean, MayaDAO is one of them. But MayaDAO have realized, like, you know, we need to grow this thing. We need to look out for our community, and we need to actually take this thing where it needs to go. And they're moving to Arbitrum. They'll stay on Metis. They'll utilize. There's a lot of benefit for them to be there. But they see that the only way they're going to grow is to step outside of it, which I think in itself is testimony to what Metis kind of like isn't delivering on.
Yep. Tapioca beta is live. Just go and try it out. Rumors of AIRDROP for those people who get excited about that kind of thing. I can't really get overly excited about stuff like that personally, but I know a lot of people do. But it's great.
Yeah, they will be giving people AIRDROP if you go and test and do your thing. I mean, apparently, Matt, one of the founders, is saying that they had over 3,000 transactions in like 2 hours or something like that. So people are obviously going to farm the airdrop, but it works. I mean, you can. I've been on. I haven't been farming the airdrop. I just went to check it out. Can't be bothered as well, but it's got the ability to cross chain, lend and borrow, and mint, and it's like it's working, dude. The thing works. I think it's on. There's 4 ecosystems that you can cross chain transfer, and it's just ridiculous. Actually, that's my biggest conviction play for 2023. I love the project. I think they're going to just shake things up really nicely. And the cool thing is it's not one that can be copied and pasted. It's just not one of those projects. It's just too much there. There's too many moving parts. Good luck trying to copy what those guys are doing.
There's aspects of it you can't.
Yeah.
You can't because of borrowing protocol and
got Cashy, right? You've got Cashy.
Yeah, it's licensed.
Yeah.
It's licensed code, so you can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck. Yeah, go and spam the Discord and say blockmates guys said when socks.
Yeah, when socks. They're giving away socks. Listen, they're going to have a fair launch. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to get in, and I have no doubt, just based on how these guys have played this thing, it's going to be a proper fair launch, unlike some of the fair launches that we've seen over the last few weeks. And seed participants have 2-year locked, so they ain't going to be dumping on you. But I think with the seed buyer, the way they've set this thing up, theoretically, based on my understanding of the documents, having read the fresh documents that came out on their new website yesterday, people are going to want to stay locked. They're not going to want to step away from this thing. If this thing is doing anything in light of what GMX has achieved from a fees perspective, then there's no reason why even your seed buyers are going to land up leaving. They should theoretically be making that money back over the time. This is a long-term horizon project. It's like 5-10 year project. That's the way these guys are thinking. So let's see how it plays out. It's an experiment after all, but it looks good so far.
Yeah. Even if people are airdrop farming, then they still have to purchase. I think the way it'll work, you'll get sent an NFT, which is oTAP, or like an option to buy tap. And all that means, don't get kind of frightened by the word options, because I know people get confused by them. All it means is whatever the market price is for tap, the oTAP will give you the option to buy it at a discount to that rate, depending. I think if you participate in the launch through like an LBP style, so basically it'll last for 72 hours. Slowly over the course of 72 hours, you'll get more and more USDC added to the LP, which slowly brings the price down. So if you want to be the first buyer, probably going to be buying at a high price. So then it comes down to a little bit of game theory of where along the curve do you want to actually purchase it? Because if people start buying, then it can actually drive the price up. So it's effectively like buying on a chart where more liquidity on the stablecoin side actually comes in. So the price is effectively going to decay down as time goes over the 72 hours. So my usual strategy on LBPs is just slowly chip away at it over the 72 hours, maybe like every 4 hours. If you see a dip, then obviously just buy a little bit more and just slowly DCA over the 72 hours. Keep a little bit of spare capital aside, because everyone who participates, they're gonna, like, say if you bought 100 tap, for example, on the LBP, you bought it over 3 days, just slowly chipping away to get the 100 tap, you're gonna get an option to buy 30 tap at a discount. So just by participating in the kind of public sale on the LBP, you're gonna get an airdrop, the potential to buy 30% of whatever you bought effectively. So, and then all the funds that you use to purchase the option, the oTAP, are going to be used, and then they're going to use that to initially seed tap liquidity and USD0 liquidity on UniV3 using Arrakis as well. So yeah, we'll cover it a little bit more closer at the time. I think we're going to include some bite-sized stuff in the newsletter in the next week or so as well, just so everyone's up to speed. I hear a lot of people saying it's confusing. It's not that confusing. What I think is confusing is like a lot of the acronyms. A lot of the stuff is quite easily explained. I mean, there's a 35-page document if you want to read that on our website about it, but we'll get it in a little bit more digestible format and release it. So keep checking the newsletter. It should be in there.
Cool. Thanks for that breakdown. I also get confused sometimes. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing how, they're obviously looking to mint their own stable coin. And I know that people get scared around stable coins. But once again, I think that's going to be an interesting experiment. They're tackling it in a very kind of like different way because it's cross-chain and it's kind of immediate. Yeah. So
it's a CDP though, like a collateralized deposition.
Yeah.
So like DAI and MIM. And if like last year was the worst trading environment of all time, and DAI and MIM, even through the FTT and UST unwind, MIM's still going great. Similar sort of setup. You've always got enough assets to cover the stablecoin. Don't get confused with algo stablecoins. Nothing alike at all. There's always backing with it. So yeah, be interested. I think I'll just buy some at the LBP, exercise the option to buy at a discount when I get that, and probably lock maybe some staked ETH or Rocket Pool ETH in there for a while as well, and then get I think you'll get another option to buy as well if you do that. From what
Matt did say that you would. Yeah, you will get an option if you do that.
So I'm just gonna do it all and then maximize my amount of oTAP that I get sent to me, and then I'll just purchase that, and then I'll just lock the tap for whatever period of time, 2, 3 years, 4 years, depending on. Because what the beauty of it is, like Curve, you have to lock for 4 years to get the maximum kind of voting rights and yield. The stakers are going to decide what the extent and the time extension of what you need to lock for. So if everyone locks for 10 years, then you best be locked for 10 years. But it's going to be like kind of a open market. You don't just get a set number of how many years you need to lock. It's kind of average weighting of everyone's time lock-in is going to determine how long people need to lock to get the maximum yield. So if the going market rate's like 2 years, then people have to lock for 2 years if they want largest amount of yield. If it's a year, it's going to be interesting to see what the market's appetite for locking is, and this will allow people to actually set that. So it's going to be great. I'm just going to do it all. I want as much oTAP to buy at a discount. You can just go and sell that once you redeem it for TAP and sell it on the market for profit if you want. But I think personally, locking that and earning the recurring yield off in ETH as well. It's not going to be paid in more TAP. It's going to be paid in ETH. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a long 3 days, I think, but it'll be good.
Nice. Anything else?
Don't think so. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet and you're a recurring viewer, then please just do us a favor. They have this thing on My First Million where it's the gentleman's agreement. If you watch us once, then you can get away with it. But if you've watched it more than once, then just do us a favor and just take literally 2 seconds. And if you listen on Spotify, you can just leave us a follow on there. Maybe if you're feeling generous, a 5-star review as well. It helps us go and land on people's feed. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. But keep an eye. There's an Infinity Pools interview going out tonight. Some IPOR article. Lots of other good stuff as well. So, and yeah, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.